Hello. In the Crown of Aragon, 639 years ago, it was January 18th, 1387. My name is Jonathan Seyfried. I'm a PhD candidate in history at the University of New Mexico, and this is the Historian's Notebook, a podcast about how history gets made. Season 1 is titled Moltcora Companiona. We're looking at a document from each day of the first year of the reign of King Joan I of Aragon and Queen Violante de Bar. We have so many documents to choose from because of a gigantic digitization of the archive of the Crown of Aragon and the abundance of paper that was available in the 14th century for the chancery scribes to write down all kinds of documents about, just dozens and dozens every single day. Let's begin today's document. Cartas Reales. That is the name of the part of the archive of the Crown of Aragon that has outgoing letters, the actual letters that were sent out. Sometimes they arrived back to the archive of the Crown of Aragon through one way or another. And there's at times hundreds of these, and not all of them have been digitized or cataloged. So a lot of the Cartas Reales, we don't really know what's in there. Furthermore, in a situation that has got me quite kerfuffled, it seems that there's Cartas Reales on Pares, the website for the grand digitization project that the Spanish government undertook for several archives across the country. The archive of the Crown of Aragon is only one of them. There's, on that section of the website, a link for the Cartas Reales of Per the Ceremonious. There's a link for the Cartas Reales for Martí, who took over for Joan after Joan died. Succeeded him to the throne would be the proper way of saying that. Why? Because Violante and Joan didn't have any surviving male children, and Martí, therefore, was the next in line to the throne in 1396. Alright, so main point. There's no link to get to the Cartas Reales for Joan. And I don't know why. And I've tried to find it some other way, doing some searches on Pares. I haven't been able to find it. So today's document is one of the Cartas Reales, but it's actually not coming from Pares. It's coming from another website put together by the Fondo Histórico de Aragon, a separate project that's actually taking digitized material from the archive of the Crown of Aragon, and also I think some other archives too, and organizing it and cataloging it. And they've put up thousands of documents on their website, and today's document is from there. It is super interesting to look at because we get a chance to see what the actual outgoing document looked like, the one that would actually be delivered to the recipient. Because remember, every single document that we have looked at thus far is a copy. It's a copy that the Chancery staff made for the internal record keeping. So the actual document, the real one, I guess you could say, the original, got mailed out. And when I say mail, it's not like they put it in like the postal box or service. It's done by courier. So there was a piece of paper that was given to the courier, and the exact words that were on that piece of paper were copied into the registers that we've been looking at for the previous 24 episodes, and the scribe that did the copying would put in the probata, the attestation, that what they copied into the register was exactly what was going out on the other piece of paper to the recipient. Now, today, we have not only the front of the paper, but also an image of the back of the paper and its fold lines. So this is just really neat to see. And you can tell on the front of it, the exterior of it, and the way that it was folded, you can see the remnant of the wax seal. So when the document is being sent out under the seal, the secret seal, or this one's actually not the secret seal, this is a different kind of seal, they're literally talking about what kind of seal in wax is going to be dripped onto the paper and then chunk stamped with, one type of seal or another. And depending on the seal, I think it would be treated differently. Like maybe, oh gosh, I'm just guessing here, like only the most trusted couriers would be allowed to carry the secret seal documents. That I'm not quite sure of. I have to research that a little bit more. But in this instance, it's very clear on the exterior of the letter. You can see all that red, and then it actually bleeds through the papers so that when you're looking at the interior of the letter, you can see where some of the wax kind of over time soaked through, or maybe, in that time it was also soaking through, but it doesn't hurt the legibility of the document. And you can also see where it was folded. And these papers, they were folded in special ways. And there's actually someone that is at the University of New Mexico now, an undergraduate studying medieval history, who's really done a whole lot of research into how the letters could be locked through folding and how the seals worked. And I'm going to put a link to his Etsy website where you can order a authentically sealed letter from him. And he's put a lot of research into it. It's pretty neat. So there's just the whole other realm of sigillography, the study of medieval seals, which actually can provide a lot of very helpful information about the larger context. Some of the symbols on the seals are kind of, in a way, analogous to how coins, the symbols on coins, would be chosen, and what that would be attempting to communicate about the values of the society and the political structures of the time. So there's a whole field of sigillography, the study of seals, just like there's the field of numismatics for the study of the coins. This particular document, it's a long Latin document, and I did not transcribe or attempt to translate it because the folks over at the Fondo Histórico de Aragon have summarized it for me, and I know I don't need to go too deeply into this, probably for my research purposes. I can always come back to it later. But this is a letter of protection, and it's a letter of protection for someone from Zaragoza. And what's interesting, I can give you a little bit of a hint here. On the fourth line, like pretty much like 75% along the line, you'll see a big capital C and then a punctuation mark. Looks sort of like an exclamation point with sort of a diagonal line for the exclamation. It's not actually an exclamation point, it's just marking the end of a phrase or a clause. And then there's another capital C. That second capital C starts the word carissimo, but what comes before is actually full of abbreviation and flourish. Caesar Augusta. And that is the Latin name for Zaragoza. So if you say Zaragoza very fast, it turns into Zaragoza, and that's where the name of Zaragoza, Spain comes from. Caesar Augusta, Augustus Caesar. They named the place after Augustus in Roman times. So that's a fun little continuity that you can share at parties during trivia time. But there's one other thing about this letter that I want to point out. I had mentioned that this was not sent under the secret seal. So on the last full line of the letter, we've got the location and the date. So I'm going to read that from the beginning of the line. Date, it could be datem. Datem in loco granulariorum. So that's granulaires. Sub nostro, in our, under our. Sigillo, and then this next word I think is assueto. I think it's ASSUETO. Could be a CO at the end. And then you've got DA, and then the date, XVIII, Roman numeral 18. And then January, the R is in the macron above. Actually, the it's just the Janu. There's a lot that's missing from January there that's taken care of by the macron. And then the next is getting into the year. So what I wanted to point out was that almost all the documents we've been looking at from the Cancilleria Real, which is to say the ones that are not the treasury records, the ones that we've been looking at that are not the treasury records are really, I think, almost all sigillo secretum or secreto. The secret seal, which I've mentioned before, doesn't really mean like top secret in the sense that we would think of it today. It means more like private, but it is a higher level of protection for the document. And then also, one other thing I wanted to mention was that there were different rules for accessing different parts of the archive. So if, say, you wanted to consult the archive because you had some kind of question about some kind of authorization that was done, say 10 years ago or something, and you want to consult the archive, you're not allowed to, unless you have a certain status in the government, you're not allowed to access the sigillo secreto as easily as you could some of the other seal levels. This one is at a lower security seal level. It is actually shared between some different registers. So the officialum and the commune, these both have this type of seal, and I'm sure that it appears elsewhere. Are you ready to hear about the level of dedication that I'm bringing to this project? I tried to find the chancery copy of this letter, and I went to 3 different registers of Joan's, and I couldn't find it. I spent probably 2 hours flipping through, which was, that was an educational experience. I learned a bit more about the officialum, which I hadn't gotten into before. But yeah, I had to go because they're out of order in a span of 100 folios, which is to say 200 digitized images. I saw a mix of January and February documents in the officialum, and that was register 1825. Oh, Sorry. That was not 1825. It was 1912. The officialum was 1912. I also looked at the commune, which was 1825. So I was going through and looking at the date. And then also what is helpful about the officialum is they put the person's name that the document is about as a header. So that's nice. You don't get that in the secret seal documents. So yeah, I flipped through there, and I'm telling you, it would be like 4 letters from February, and then 4 letters from January, and then 4 letters from early February, and then 4 letters from the end of February, and then January, back and forth, back and forth. And after 100 folios, I did not find this document. So I got to kind of the end of when January was appearing, and yeah, like 90 folios in, January was still appearing in the middle of February. So yeah, there's no shortage of documents. I mean, that's one thing I can report after my fruitless treasure hunt for the copy of this document. There's other registers that it could be in, and if I have some additional time on my hands, I will tackle some of those other registers and see if I can find the copy, because that would just be kind of neat, reuniting them in a way here in digital format. But it was not meant to be on this day when I was recording this episode. So that brings us to a close of this installment of the Historian's Notebook, Season 1, Molt Cara Companiona. If you are leaving with more questions than you arrived with, I've done my job. Remember, the motto of the Historian's Notebook is dissatisfaction guaranteed. So if you're feeling dissatisfied because I did not attempt to transcribe and translate this letter, wow. Give me a break. Come on. But your feelings are your feelings. So, okay. Dissatisfaction is guaranteed in that way. But maybe you also want to know more about the mail and couriers in the Middle Ages. There's so much more about that. And actually, I don't think I have any good articles handy. I went to some conference presentations on that, but I don't have any articles ready to share about that. So I am once again delivering on dissatisfaction guaranteed. Hopefully I'll find one down the road and I'll come back and edit the webpage for this episode and put that in. Speaking of the webpage for this episode, please visit the website, jonathanseyfried.net. There is a page for each day's document, which contains the image and bibliography, sometimes my crutch of AI usage. So all of that is there. Check it out. And there's also a contact me form on that webpage. I would love to hear from you. What's your response to all of this? Fill it out. I'll get back to you. And listen again tomorrow to hear about the next day in the first year of the reign of King Joan I of Aragon and Queen Violante de Bar. In the meantime, take care.